Stubbornness can be pretty annoying at times, especially in regard to important issues like climate change, immigration, equality, and spirituality. So why does it seem some people just won't listen to reason or change their opinion regardless of the evidence? In this video, we'll discuss the effects of dogmatic belief systems on everyday decision making and how our beliefs shape our perception of the world.
We can define dogmatism as an unmoving opinion held despite differing opinion or evidence. This can be seen in fundamentalist religious beliefs, deeply held racial or sexist prejudice, and science denial. It can also occur among scientists when researchers have a bias towards a certain outcome and try to design experiments that might yield the results they would prefer or expect. Let's take a look at some examples of how dogmatism can have an effect on real-life outcomes.
When a religious fundamentalist denies medical care for a loved one in place of prayer healing, they have willingly made a decision based on an unyielding belief in spite of contradicting evidence. This is an extreme example and has historically led to some rather upsetting outcomes. Less obvious examples, but far more common, are those that occur on a regular basis in public media, such as a Facebook status or news report which presents information arguing against a held belief. If the source is not perceived as an authority, it will be immediately rejected based on the source or the mere conclusion rather than the content. A well-known example of this is the attitude displayed by anti-vaccination campaigners who reject numerous scientific studies in contradiction to the belief that vaccines cause autism, yet hold on to any article which speaks in favour of their beliefs. Accepting information or an idea from authority rather than content is not considered a dogmatic response. Dogmatism does not come from the acceptance of an idea, but rather the rejection of information that contradicts that idea.
Research into social psychology has identified the underlying factors which contribute to the dogmatism in these scenarios. A fixed commitment to a particular idea draws from a strong association with a highly regarded authority. This effect is strengthened when an individual is associated with a social group or organization that supports that authority. As people develop at a young age, they are reliant on external sources for information regarding the world around them, and deciding who to trust is crucial. This is why children demonstrate significantly greater responses to praise or punishment from parents as they do from others. As we get older, however, we divert our authority for truth away from our parents onto other sources such as religious, social, or political figures. When information is presented from a source that is not viewed by that person as an authority and is in direct contradiction with views held by the authority, a person is far more likely to reject those views. Rejection of information based on the source alone may be considered dogmatism. Furthermore, people who exhibit tendencies towards dogmatic behavior often experience significantly greater emotional responses to statements that disagree with their current beliefs, as opposed to those who demonstrate less dogmatic tendencies.
Subjects who respond to statements on social and political ideologies repeatedly show greater electrodermal activity when those statements disagree with their personal beliefs compared to statements which coincided with their beliefs. Electrodermal activity is the change in conductivity of the skin, which has been demonstrated to change as a response due to sympathetic neural activity. In other words, our skin conducts more electricity as we sweat, and we sweat more when we have an emotional response. This is important because an emotional response to contradicting beliefs inhibits a person's ability to rationalize the content of something, and therefore decrease the chances of that information changing someone's opinion. This emotional effect has been associated to the certainty behind one's decisions.
The choice certainty theory is a theoretical model in psychology which states that a person will make a decision which is perceived to be their best choice over their alternatives. While this concept seems self-evident, it has important implications. Studies using this model showed people will demonstrate a positive bias towards sources that would confirm their beliefs and increase certainty, as sources which contradict beliefs decrease certainty and increase discomfort in decision-making. This meant individuals were less willing to devote time towards sources which increased discomfort and led to them spending more time analyzing sources of information that increased certainty. The effect this has on our perspectives of the world is extremely important, as people are less willing to devote time to researching information which challenges their beliefs, but are more than willing to listen to information which further promotes already established beliefs, particularly when an emotional connection is made with those beliefs.
The mechanisms of how an individual adopts a dogmatic belief structure aren't fully understood. However, cognitive and behavioral science are constantly gaining knowledge into how these traits develop. Dogmatism is not restricted to religious fundamentalism or fascist ideologies. It can apply to any aspect of life and requires constant effort by every individual to apply logic and reason with minimal bias in order to maintain an open-minded perspective of reality. Thanks for watching. Check out our citations in the description for further reading. Also, subscribe to our channel and like this video.